setup for our wide play session with a focus on crossing is as follows. This is obviously on an 11v11 pitch, but the pitch size can be modified for any age group. Just make it smaller for the younger the age group and adapt your numbers accordingly. I've based this on having 14 players available, so we've got 4v4 in the middle and a 1v1 in each wide area. If you have an odd number, it's not a problem. I would just have an extra player in here as a magic player, and they're on the team whoever's in possession of the ball. Goalkeepers start the practice and they start whenever the ball goes out as well, so there's no throw-ins off here or anything, it'd just be the goalkeeper starts it. I do allow corners from these areas just because it's another way of crossing. The ball, when we start, it must go wide before you can score. Now it doesn't have to go straight out wide, it could go like that, but it must go out wide before you can score. It is a slight compromise on realism, but it allows for you to get your crossing outcomes. Out here we have a 1v1 battle, so these guys are locked in this zone and these guys can't go into the zone. So when you get it out wide, we're 1v1. You need to talk to this player about how to get on the ball. It may be that we're looking at getting quite close in and we play a 1-2 into the space with that sort of run onto it and then the cross.
It's a brilliant example here, the little layoff and running behind for the cross.
Or it may be that there's just some clever movement. So as we get nice and tight, we might make a slight run in here to bend it round, to suck that defender close and then make a run with a pass straight away out wide before the cross comes in.
Brilliant example here of opposite movement to suck the defender in and cross.
Make sure you're always rotating these players around, so lots of different players get an opportunity to play in the wide area, especially for your foundation phase players where we don't want them locked into a position.
There are lots of coaching points for crossing, and it's a great opportunity to get that individual technique out. Is it floated, whipped, driven, high, low, or a cutback?
And then the main bulk, once we've worked out the game, once you've got the players playing it, it's played at a nice tempo and we're getting these players on the ball as often as possible, we've got to think about detail on the cross. For me as a coach, I always think if the cross is good and there's no one in there, then it's definitely the striker's fault. So the strikers need to know what to expect that's coming in, and we look at maybe 2 or 3 different areas. If we're crossing from deep like this, where's the ball going to go? For me, it would be one of those where you're using the last defender and the goalkeeper and looking at that little corridor in there. So we're trying to just miss the last one, get a ball in there. That could be along the ground, it could be higher, but we're looking possibly for 2 strikers to go in like that, one at the near post, one at the far post, because that's the sort of thing that they're expecting.
Looking for the players to get the ball out of their feet, head over the ball. It's a side foot cross. If you're looking at that direction now, missing the defender, between the defender and the goalkeeper. Here's another top level example, Trent the master of it at the moment.
If we then look at a cross that's a little bit deeper down, further down the pitch, probably a couple of options here where you could float the ball. Probably the flight of the ball is in the same place, but it's a little bit further away from the goal, a little bit more around that penalty spot area. The floated one, players need to try and get their foot under the ball a little bit more, get it up and over the defenders, possibly for a header, it might be that. We're also looking, remember, for these players to be hunting around any rebounds or if the defender managed to clear it. If it was driven, it might just be technique of laces, hard and low, straight in there, looking for players to just get in and try and get anything on the ball. It might be a little flicked one, a side foot finish at the back post, it may be a header, but it's just a case of trying to get something on the ball and directing it towards goal.
First one here is the floated cross that we spoke about, getting your foot right underneath the ball and putting it at that back post for a header. And the second one, much more driven, strikers in there just trying to get a touch on. Nice floated cross there to the back post and the header on goal. And then this one, hit a bit harder, driven near post, striker getting something on it.
And then probably the last one is when a player finds themselves right down in this area to the byline, and we look at a cutback. We still have a lot for these players to do. We want sort of decoy runs from them to create the space for the cutback. So if this striker knows that the wide player is down here, they're expecting the cutback, I'd still like to see that sort of run to drag that player out, so that when that cutback comes into this sort of area, it could be for one of these runners, the other striker might have gone across, whatever it is, but we're trying to make sure that we get it in that sort of area, first time finish across the goalkeeper there. Couple of progressions for the session. We want to see if we can allow some combination play in the wide area. So we say that once the ball has travelled into the wide area, another player could join in. So that might create opportunity for an overlap and a cross. Might also provide the opportunity for a little underlapped run and pass for the cross as well.
Nice example here of the overlap, driving into space, trying to get the cross in. Final part of the session is always good to get them in a small-sided game, but still link into the topic that you've coached. So no players locked in, can score from anywhere, but 3 points for a goal from a cross.
Final part of the session and the progression would be for all players to be freed up, come in and out, do what you need to do, that sort of thing, but give them the scoring system and the scoring incentive of, if we score from a cross, the goal will be worth 3. So you can score in these areas, you can go straight on. I'd stop the goalkeeper shooting because that distance is probably where they might fancy a shot. But if it comes from a wide area, it will be worth 3.
This is a really effective games-based practice, all your players involved all at once. Physical outcomes are brilliant, technical outcomes as well, in terms of all the different details that you can give the players regarding crossing and the strikers in the middle to try and finish from it as well. Kids love the session because it's competitive, it can be adapted for all different age groups, and ultimately lots and lots of fun.